check for $72,000, somewhere in there.
What'd you do with it?
I spent it on drugs, every bit of it.
Frank Beard is dead. The man who held down the beat for ZZ Top for 56 years passed away at his ranch in Richmond, Texas, at the age of 77, with his family around him. I'll be honest with you. When the alert came through this afternoon, I sat with it for a long minute before I could bring myself to open it. Because I think a lot of us had already braced for this one. We saw the Hollywood Bowl show get canceled at the start of the month. We saw the vague language about obstacles. We saw a fill-in drummer's name start appearing where his should have been. And if you've been around long enough, you know what that pattern usually means. You just hope every single time that you're wrong. This time we weren't. Frank Beard, the man who kept the beat behind Grange, behind Tush, behind Sharp-Dressed Man, died at his ranch in Richmond, Texas at the age of 77 with his family around him. And here's the part I want to get to early, because it's the reason I'm making this video instead of just posting a photo. Billy Gibbons put out a statement, and buried in the last sentence of it is something that stopped me cold. It's 4 words, 4 ordinary words that tell you Frank made a decision before he went. A decision about what happens to that band now, and about what he wanted the 2 men he left behind to do next. I'll show you those 4 words, and I'll show you why they're the second time in 5 years that a member of ZZ Top has quietly made this exact arrangement. Stay with me. Let's start with what we actually know, because in the first hours after news like this, the internet fills up fast with things nobody has confirmed. Frank Lee Beard was born on June 11, 1949, in Frankston, Texas, and raised in Irving. He was 77 years old. The announcement came Tuesday, August 18th. The band's longtime publicist, Bob Merlis, confirmed it, and the statement was direct and plain. Beard, he said, was in hospice care when he passed away at his ranch in Richmond, Texas, with family members at his side. The Fort Bend County Medical Examiner's Office confirmed the death to Fox News Digital. The band itself confirmed it to CBS News. The Associated Press ran it, Variety ran it, Rolling Stone ran it. This is not a rumor, and it is not one outlet getting ahead of itself. This is confirmed from every direction at once. No cause of death has been released. I want to be very clear about that, because I've already seen people speculating, and I'm not going to do that here. When the family is ready to say something, they'll say it. Until then, the only honest answer is that we don't know, and it isn't ours to guess at. What we do know is that he was home. Not in a hospital, not on the road, not in some anonymous room in a city he was passing through. He was on his own land, in the state he never really left, with the people who loved him in the room. For a man who spent 56 years living out of tour buses and hotel rooms, there is something almost merciful in that. He'd been with that band for 56 years. Think about that number for a second. 56 years in the same 3 chairs. Which brings us to what Billy said. Billy Gibbons was on the road when he got the news. He was mid-tour with bassist Elwood Francis, playing shows, doing the thing the 3 of them have done since Richard Nixon was in office. And the statement he put out is short. I want to read it to you in full, because every word of it is doing work. Here's Gibbons. Today, Elwood and I lost a great friend and collaborator, and the world lost one of the most naturally innovative drummers and a great and true son of Texas. His signature backbeat was key to keeping ZZ on top. The band of which he was part for 6 decades is going to keep on keeping on as he had wished. Now, read that last sentence again. Is going to keep on keeping on as he had wished. As he had wished. That is not a man improvising a tribute in the first hours of grief. That is a man reporting a decision. Somewhere in the last stretch of Frank Beard's life, during the hospice care, during the health troubles that pulled him off the road, at some point when the 2 of them sat down and had the conversation that nobody wants to have, Frank told him what he wanted. He told him to keep going, and Gibbons is honoring it publicly, on day 1, before the funeral, before the tributes, before anything else. He's putting it in the first paragraph the world reads about his friend's death. That's not an accident. That's a promise being made in front of witnesses. There's a phrase in there I keep coming back to too. A great and true son of Texas. Frank was born in Frankston, raised in Irving, and died on a ranch in Richmond, Texas the whole way through, start to finish. Gibbons could have called him a legend. He could have called him a giant. He called him a son of Texas because he knew that's what Frank would have wanted on the marker. But that four-word promise has a history. It's happened before. Here's the thing that people who only half know ZZ Top always get wrong. The band with the two enormous beards had three members. The one named Beard was the one without one. Frank was clean-shaven most of his life, or wearing a mustache at most, while the two men beside him grew those chest-length beards into one of the most recognizable images in rock and roll. Gibbons had a line about it that he used for decades. Frank's beard is on his driver's license. It's a great joke. It's also, if you think about it, the perfect description of the man. The visual identity of that band belonged to the other two. The engine belonged to him. And I mean that literally, because here's the fact that I think deserves far more attention than it's ever gotten. There would be no ZZ Top as we know it without Frank Beard. And not because of his drumming, because he made the phone call. According to the band's own publicist, in the waning days of 1969, it was Frank Beard who suggested to Billy Gibbons, then a frontman looking for a rhythm section after his previous group, the Moving Sidewalks, had dissolved, that he ought to audition a bass player named Dusty Hill. Frank knew Dusty. They'd played together in a string of Texas bands before any of this. American Blues, the Warlocks, the Cellar Dwellers, the Hustlers. He'd already logged the miles with him, and when Gibbons needed a bassist, Frank didn't hold the seat for himself or angle for leverage. He recommended his friend. That recommendation produced a lineup that stayed intact for 51 years, 51. In a business where bands implode over songwriting credits inside of 18 months, three men sat in the same three chairs for half a century, and it happened because the drummer made an introduction and then got out of the way. They played their first show as that classic lineup in Beaumont, Texas on February 10, 1970. They celebrated the 50th anniversary of it with a concert in San Antonio in February of 2020. 50 years, same three guys, still standing on a stage together. That's not a band, that's a marriage that somehow worked. And the man who arranged it was the one you could pick out of the photograph because he was the only one you could see the face of. Let's talk about what he actually did behind that kit, because he kept the beat, undersells it to the point of insult. Frank Beard was a master of the Texas Shuffle, and the Texas Shuffle is one of those things that sounds simple until somebody who isn't very good at it tries to play it in front of you. It's a groove that has to sit dead in the pocket and never wander for 6, 7, 8 minutes at a stretch, holding the whole thing up while the guitar wanders off and does whatever it wants. It has to feel loose and be absolutely rigid, those two things at once. That's the trick, and almost nobody can do it. Listen to Grange again tonight. Go put it on. That intro, the tapping on the rim of the snare, those little triplets ticking underneath Gibbons growling over the top. That's Frank. And then about 24 bars in, the whole thing drops into that hard-pounding shuffle and the floor falls out from under you. If you want to hear where that groove came from, put on John Lee Hooker's Boogie Chillin'. That's the blues ancestor Frank and Billy were pulling from, and you can hear the whole lineage in about 30 seconds. Rolling Stone described his playing as precise and tireless, and that's exactly the word, tireless. He never sped up. He never got bored and started decorating. He just held it. Grange came off Tres Hombres in 1973. The album that put them on the map and carried them into the top 10 of the Billboard 200 on the way to gold. Before that was Rio Grande Mud in 72 and the debut in 71, a full run of records that established them as the most serious blues rock band Houston had ever produced, all cut under the guidance of their longtime manager and producer Bill Ham. Then came 1983, Eliminator. Synthesizers, sequencers, the car, the girls, the spinning fuzzy guitars, MTV in constant rotation. Bill Ham produced that one too. Same as every major record they ever made. and a blues band from Houston somehow became the biggest thing on television. And through all of it, underneath every one of those hits, Legs, Sharp-Dressed Man, Gimme All Your Lovin', Tush, the same man was sitting behind the same kit doing the same unglamorous, unbreakable thing. The numbers came out the way you'd expect. More than 50 million records sold, 6 singles at #1 on Billboard's mainstream rock airplay chart, 7 albums in the Billboard 200, induction into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2004. Keith Richards was the one who put them in, which tells you something about where the band stood in the eyes of people who actually know how to play. He played on everything from the debut album in 1971 through La Futura in 2012, plus 2 live records after that. 56 years of showing up. And now the part that, in hindsight, we were all watching happen in real time without quite admitting it to ourselves. Frank Beard had been fighting something for a while. Go back to October of 2002. The band was in Paris, about to play Lee Zenith, and Frank had to have an emergency appendectomy. Their drum tech, John Douglas, sat in. It was the first show in the band's 33-year history played without the original lineup. And Frank's response at the time tells you everything about him. He said he hated to miss a show, that they were lucky John was available, and that he'd be back as soon as the doctors gave him the okay. He was back. Then came March of 2025. The band announced that Frank had temporarily stepped away from the Elevation tour to deal with a health issue. The word they used was temporarily. Management said the procedure required his focus in the near term and that he was looking forward to a speedy recovery. He missed the Australian run after that. The statement then said his physicians had recommended more physical therapy over a longer period and that his total recovery had to be priority #1. He came back in September, but through 2026, he was mostly absent. Michael Monaghan was in the chair for most of the year's shows. Then, at the start of this month, on August 5th, ZZ Top abruptly canceled the Hollywood Bowl. The statement Gibbons put out at the time said, quote, "Insurmountable obstacles require canceling our Hollywood Bowl performance." He added that the friends, fans, and followers of ZZ Top are the best in the business, and that the band was counting on everyone to bear with them through the brief interruption. Insurmountable obstacles. Nobody said what they were. Rolling Stone later learned it was Frank's health. 13 days later, he was gone. And I think that's why so many of us had that feeling in our chest today before we even read the headline. We'd been watching a man run out of road for 18 months and telling ourselves it was physical therapy. The band has canceled tonight's show in Salt Lake City and tomorrow's in Colorado Springs. They resume this weekend, and where they resume matters. Now let me take you back to 2021, because this is the part that turns Billy Gibbons' 4 words into something much bigger. On July 28, 2021, Dusty Hill died. He was 72, and Dusty, before he went, made an arrangement. He asked that his longtime bass tech, Elwood Francis, take his place. Not an audition, not a search, not a committee. Dusty picked the man himself and asked that it be honored, and it was. Elwood Francis has been standing in Dusty Hill's spot on that stage ever since, and he was standing there beside Billy Gibbons when the news about Frank came through today. Now look at what Gibbons said this afternoon. The band is going to keep on keeping on, as he had wished. That's twice. Twice, a member of ZZ Top has known what was coming, sat down with the men he'd spent his life beside, and given them permission to continue without him. I've thought about that a lot in the last few hours, and I don't think it's morbid. I think it's the opposite. I think it's the single most loving thing a man in that position can do. Because the cruelest thing about losing someone you've worked beside for 50 years isn't just the grief, it's the guilt. It's the question of whether you have any right to keep doing the thing the two of you built, whether going on is a betrayal, whether the honest move is to just stop. Dusty took that question away from them, and now Frank has taken it away too. He didn't leave Billy Gibbons wondering, he told him. And there's one more detail that got me. TMZ reported that when the band picks the tour back up this weekend, it'll be with 2 nights at Austin City Limits. and they noted it was one of Frank's favorite venues. So the first show ZZ Top plays after Frank Beard's death will be in Texas, in one of his favorite rooms, where a son of Texas would have wanted it. Which leaves us with Billy Gibbons. He is now the only original member of ZZ Top left alive. Sit with that for a second, because I don't think most people have fully processed what it means. 56 years, 3 men, same 3 chairs, through the 70s, through MTV, through the Beards and the Cars and the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and 50 million records. And now 2 of those chairs are empty, and there's 1 man left who was there at the beginning, in a club called the Catacombs in Houston in 1969, when none of it had happened yet. He is going to walk out at Austin city limits this weekend and play Grange, and when that shuffle comes in, it won't be Frank playing it. I don't know how a person does that. I genuinely don't, but he's going to, because he was asked to. So here's what I'd offer, for whatever it's worth. We tend to save our attention for the people out front, the voice, the guitar, the face on the poster, and there's a reason for that. Those are the people we recognize. But every band that ever lasted was held together by somebody in the back who never asked for the credit, somebody who made the introduction that built the thing, somebody who played the same groove 10,000 times without ever once getting bored with it, somebody whose name was on the marquee and whose face nobody could pick out. Frank Beard was that man for 56 years. He built the lineup, he held the floor, he never grew the beard. And when the end came, he used what he had left to make sure the thing he built would outlive him. Rest easy, Frank. Frankston to Richmond, 1949 to 2026, a great and true son of Texas. The band's going to keep on keeping on, just like you asked. If Frank Beard's playing meant something to you, if Grange was on in your car or your garage or your first apartment, do me a favor and put it on tonight. Turn it up. Listen for the drums this time instead of the guitar. He earned that. And then come down to the comments and tell me the first ZZ Top song you ever heard and where you were. I read every one of these, and on days like today, they matter more than usual. This channel is a lot of people who grew up on the same music, and I'd rather we sit with it together than alone. If you want more tributes like this one, subscribe and turn the bell on. We cover these the way they deserve to be covered. Thanks for being here.